When I was a little girl, I was obsessed with planning my wedding, finding the perfect white dress, all the extensive decorations, and being surrounded with my loved ones, my best friends, and family. In fact, I loved most things about any wedding. They were just so wholesome. All the love and good food, I was obsessed. So you can imagine how heartbroken I was when my mom told me that at age 7, I wouldn't be able to attend her wedding. She was getting married all the way in Connecticut, and financially flying all the way from Utah and being so young, it just didn't make sense for my family to bring me all that way. But why did my mom choose to get married in Connecticut? Such a huge life moment away from all of these close family and friends. Well, the reason was because my mom was getting married to another woman. And in 2013, when my moms were getting married, same-sex marriage was not federally protected. And in Utah, it was actually prohibited. But this all changed in 2015 with a case Obergefell versus Hodges. In 2015, same-sex couples from Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky all petitioned the government to not only recognize their marriages, but to not allow it to be prohibited in any other state. And it was this court case that allowed the privilege of marriage to be granted to same-sex couples and to be federally protected. And all of this was possible because of our First Amendment right to petition the government for a redress of grievances, to petition the government for change. And a lot of our fundamental rights, we have the First Amendment to thank for. And I hear a lot of discussion about the First Amendment, but not this specific aspect. The specific aspect of being able to ask the government to change, to improve the life of its citizens. In Brown versus the Board of Education, social justice lawyers petitioned the courts to ban segregation in public schools, and they actually found that segregation was unconstitutional. In Section 9 of the Education Amendments and Section 7 of the Civil Rights Act, it was prohibited for there to be sex-based discrimination when it comes to educational institutions or places of employment. The 19th Amendment was possible because women petitioned the government to give them the right to vote. Imagine what a scary world we would live in without this sacred right, to be able to see change where we see injustice. Many people question whether in our modern world this petitioning still has effectiveness, or whether it's pointless. Whether this right that our founding fathers gave us all the way back in 1791 is even working anymore. The National Constitution Center shared that even in Congress and all 50 legislatures, petitioning has essentially become virtually pointless. It's become essentially a formality. Of course, petitions will be recorded and accepted, but after that, they're not even debated, and oftentimes the petitioners aren't even called up or addressed in person. So there is some truth to that concern, but it doesn't have to stay this way. It might seem strange to look at the imperfect institution to change the imperfections in that institution. But we have to look back to petitioning the government for change, to change this aspect about the First Amendment, to refresh it and make it work for modern citizens in the United States. And this starts with looking back to those successful movements. And we can see that there were two parts that made them so successful. First, they were attacking large institutional issues like segregation or marriage equality. We can see that a lot of the cases that are pushed aside nowadays are pushed aside because they are very specific and unique to small areas. And this doesn't mean that they're not important. It just means that we first need to focus on the bigger issue of petitioning in the United States before we can address those smaller issues. Next, they were backed by bigger organizations and bigger movements. When it came to Obergefell and Hodges, they were backed not only by 4 states, but multiple individuals in those states that were able to come together under one movement in front of the Supreme Court. To see reform, we have to return to these past movements, because a country that is built on freedom and on democracy is one that listens to its people, that was willing to change to improve their lives. And I believe that the United States is still that country, because we were able to see change so that little girls don't have to worry about being rejected from jobs or schools because of their skin or gender, so that little girls like me can see their mothers getting married. And so we too can live the American dream, because America still cares about listening to its citizens' voices. I may not be as obsessed with weddings as I was as a 7-year-old, but I still find pride and excitement at witnessing the relationship between the United States and the people that care to change it for the better. Thank you.